The last thing Naomi Carter said to him before she walked out of that hospital room was, "Not I love you." Neither was it. "I'll come back tomorrow." It was, "The insurance already approved the transfer. My attorney will finalize the rest." And then she left, shutting the door behind her. Joon-Seo, founder of one of Seoul's fastest-growing Afro-Korean entertainment and tech investment companies, lay motionless beneath the cold hospital lights with metal braces supporting his spine, staring at a ceiling that had absolutely nothing to offer him, but fed his side at the moment. And in that silence, he made a decision so cold, so calculated, it would take exactly few days to explode. He didn't cry. Neither was he scared. It was all anger boiling up in him. He started planning. Before we continue, if you believe betrayal always circles back to the people who create it, please like and subscribe right now and tell us where you're watching from. Seoul, Utah, Damyang, Johannesburg, Toronto, Houston, Busan, Nairobi. We want to know every city watching this story unfold. Joon-Seo had been awake for nearly 8 good hours before anyone important walked in. The nurses were calm and professional. The doctors were respectful. The neurosurgeon spoke carefully, choosing each word like it carried legal consequences. "The spinal trauma is serious," he said. "Recovery may take months," he said. "We won't know the full outcome immediately," he said. Joon-Seo nodded quietly at every sentence. His expression remained still, but his mind was already moving faster than everyone else in the room. The accident happened on a rainy Friday night outside Gangnam. Joon-Seo had just left a private investor gala when the luxury SUV carrying him suddenly accelerated through an underground parking ramp barrier before crashing into a concrete support column. Police blamed a malfunction in the electronic driving system. Insurance investigators called it a tragic technical failure. Joon-Seo said nothing about the fact that Naomi was the last person who drove the vehicle before him. When Naomi finally arrived, nearly 5 hours after surgery, she was not alone. Joon-Seo heard Min-hyuk's voice first, his younger brother. In his head, he believed it could be Anastasia from the surgery that was messing with his head. That smooth, confident tone Joon-Seo had defended his entire life. The two of them stepped into the hospital room together, like people arriving late to a business meeting instead of visiting a husband, fighting to feel his legs again. Naomi wore a long, ivory coat Joon-Seo had bought her during Fashion Week in Milan. Min-hyuk carried coffee for both of them. Neither brought anything for Joon-Seo. "You're awake," Naomi said casually. "I am," Joon-Seo replied. Min-hyuk leaned against the window overlooking Seoul's skyline, while Naomi slowly sat beside the hospital bed with the posture of a woman rehearsing concern instead of feeling it. "The doctor said recovery could take a long time," she said softly. "They said there's improvement," Joon-Seo corrected. A flicker crossed her face, tiny, but noticeable. She hated when he remained sharp, especially now. "Either way," Naomi continued carefully, "you can't keep running Lee Global from a hospital bed." And there it was, not love, not fear, not concern, straight to business. Joon-Seo stared at her for a long moment. For nearly 9 years, he had built Naomi into the woman sitting in front of him. When she first arrived in Seoul as an unknown creative director from Chicago, he introduced her to investors, executives, celebrities, and rooms filled with people who would never have opened doors for her alone. He financed her first brand campaigns, protected her from scandals, handed her opportunities while allowing her to believe she earned them entirely herself. Because he loved her. Because he believed marriage meant loyalty. Now, watching her sit calmly beside his hospital bed while his own brother stood quietly near the window, Joon-Seo finally understood something brutal. He had confused proximity with devotion. "I'll manage," he said quietly. Naomi sighed. "Joon-Seo, the board needs leadership. The Hansong acquisition closes next month. Investors need someone present. Present, not capable, not brilliant, not experienced. present, and able to move around. Joon-Seo almost smiled. "I'll manage," he repeated. Naomi and Min-hyuk stayed roughly for another 30 minutes before leaving together. At the doorway, Min-hyuk gave Joon-Seo a sympathetic nod. It was the kind of performance only guilty people believed looked genuine. The moment the door closed, Joon-Seo reached for his phone and called his attorney. The hospital suite had thin walls and a ventilation shaft directly above the hallway seating area. Joon-Seo noticed that on day 4. By day 7, he understood something else. People speak recklessly around broken men, especially when they believe those men are already defeated. On the 9th night, he heard Naomi and Min-hyuk outside his room. Their voices traveled perfectly through the vent. "The board meeting is in 4 weeks, Min-hyuk said, with his voice almost above whispers. "If he's still stuck in here up till then, interim control transfers to the spouse," Naomi replied almost immediately. "And the shares?" "I already reviewed the marital structure," Naomi said calmly. "Once I assume temporary executive authority, we gain access to most of the company assets." A pause. Then Min-hyuk laughed softly. "He always trusted too much." Naomi laughed with him. "That's why this was easy." Their footsteps faded down the hallway. Inside the room, Joon-Seo remained completely motionless beneath the blankets, but something inside him quietly finished dying. His father once said, "The most dangerous person in any room is the one everyone stops paying attention to." For the first time in his life, Joon-Seo truly understood that sentence. What Naomi never knew, what she never bothered investigating because arrogant people rarely study the people they betray, was that Joon-Seo had quietly restructured Lee Global 18 months earlier. The public corporation Naomi was trying to control was merely the surface. The real fortune, music licensing, Korean streaming partnerships, international media holdings, and private investment portfolios, sat behind layered entities accessible only through biometric authorization, tied exclusively to Joon-Seo. Naomi had access to the storefront. Joon-Seo owned the city behind it. From his hospital bed, working silently between midnight and dawn while the hospital slept, Joon-Seo spent the next 3 weeks preparing. First, he transferred the Hansong acquisition into a protected subsidiary, requiring his direct approval to close. Naomi would discover this only when she attempted to sign the deal herself. Second, he activated a financial trigger. Min-hyuk had secretly borrowed millions against projected Lee Global equity to launch a luxury nightlife brand across Seoul and Tokyo. The lender appeared independent. It wasn't. Behind 2 layers of corporate structure sat an investment firm fully controlled by Joon-Seo himself. He didn't call the debt immediately. He simply prepared the collapse. Third, he healed. Faster than anyone expected. By day 18, he could stand. By day 23, he was walking short distances at night across the private recovery wing. He told nobody. Not the nurses. Not the board. Not even his legal team. During the daytime, he continued performing weakness with terrifying precision. And while Naomi moved confidently through Seoul believing victory was already hers, Joon-Seo quietly collected evidence. Voice recordings, financial transfers, deleted messages restored by cybersecurity specialists, private hotel footage. Enough evidence to bury both Naomi and Min-hyuk beneath criminal investigations that would take years to untangle. On the morning of day 31, Joon-Seo made a single phone call. "Prepare my charcoal suit," he said calmly. "The Brioni one." The board meeting began at exactly 2 p.m. inside Lee Global Tower overlooking the Han River. At 1:50, the room was already full. Naomi stood confidently at the head of the obsidian conference table wearing a tailored cream suit and the expression of a woman already tasting victory. Min-hyuk sat 2 seats beside her, pretending calm. Several board members had already aligned themselves with Naomi. Others simply followed wherever power appeared strongest. "Before we begin," Naomi said smoothly, "I want to acknowledge how difficult these past weeks have been." She paused carefully. Joon-Seo is no longer capable of leading this company the way he once did. A few sympathetic nods spread around the table. Naomi uncapped her pen. Then the boardroom doors opened. No announcement, no warning. Just footsteps. Steady, controlled, certain. Every head turned instantly. Lee Joon-Seo walked into the room. Charcoal suit, black tie, perfect posture, no wheelchair, no cane, no hesitation. The room froze. Min-hyuk's face lost color immediately. Naomi's hand tightened around the pen so hard her knuckles turned white. Joon-Seo did not look at either of them first. He looked at the board, one face at a time. Calm, measured, complete. "Good afternoon," he said evenly. "Apologies for the delay. Seoul traffic can be unpredictable." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Joon-Seo walked calmly toward the head chair. His chair. The one Naomi had been standing beside, pretending already belonged to her. Without saying a word, she stepped back. Her body surrendered before her pride did. Joon-Seo sat down slowly and opened a thin black folder. "The Hanseong acquisition," he said calmly, "requires my biometric authorization under the revised executive structure filed last year." Confused murmurs instantly spread across the room. Two attorneys entered moments later, distributing documents to the board. Naomi's expression changed page by page. Then Joon-Seo spoke again. "And while we are here," he continued pleasantly, "the board should also know that evidence involving corporate fraud, conspiracy, attempted asset theft, and financial manipulation involving two individuals connected to this company has already been submitted to Korean federal investigators." This time, he looked directly at Naomi. Only once. It was enough. Somewhere downstairs, security was already escorting investigators upstairs. Min-hyuk slowly sat back in his chair like his legs had forgotten how to function. Naomi stood frozen beside the table, still holding a pen she no longer had authority to use. And in front of the entire board, she finally understood the scale of what she had lost. Not just a husband, not just a company. Everything, every deal, every alliance, every shortcut, every betrayal, her life, all of it had led directly here. "Joon-Seo," she whispered weakly. His expression never changed. "You said weakness makes people replaceable," he replied quietly. Then he turned calmly back to the board. "Now," he said, "shall we begin?" Min-hyuk was escorted from the building at 4:09 p.m. by federal investigators and corporate attorneys. Naomi's luxury branding empire collapsed less than 48 hours later, after lenders called every outstanding debt attached to her accounts. The penthouse disappeared first, then the investors, then the carefully manufactured image of the brilliant self-made executive she spent years building, destroyed piece by piece through financial investigations and public filings that spread across Korean business media within days. Naomi called Joon-Seo once. He never answered. He was in a meeting. He was always in meetings now, the kind held inside rooms people once tried to steal from him. The wheelchair remained inside a storage room on the 5th floor of Lee Global Tower long after the scandal ended. No one asked Joon-Seo whether he wanted it removed. He left it there intentionally, not as a reminder of weakness, but as proof of a few days' absence that people underestimated him so completely that they handed him every weapon he needed to destroy them. His father once said, "The most dangerous person is the one with nothing left to lose." Joon-Seo had always disagreed silently. Now he finally understood the truth. The most dangerous person is the one who survives betrayal and still has an empire left to build. If this story kept you watching till the very end, comment "he already knew" below. And if you believe betrayal always comes back for the people who create it, subscribe and stay with us, because the next story is already waiting.